Hi everybody, my name is Henk Warren, and this was a presentation that we had on Employment Equity Act amendments, and I've slightly amended this to include a couple of things which wasn't part of our Zoom session, so hopefully you'll be able to find some clarity on the Employment Equity amendments. So let me just deal with what Labour Info provides, and you can also contact us to help you draft plan employment equity plan, how to manage and appoint an employment equity committee, how to train an employment equity committee, how to manage the functions of the employment equity committee, the legal obligations, record keeping and reporting, as well as the forms and documents. So just to put it out there that if you need assistance from us in that regard, you're more than welcome to contact us. Right, so what are the amendments actually all about? So a government gazette was published, and you will see there the date is when it is coming into operation. It says from the 1st of January this year it will come into operation, and one is required as per the legislation to be to have all your Employment Equity Act cases being dealt with at that specific stage. And then what happens is that one deal with the employment equity amendments that came into operations as from that date. Right, so what are these amendments? In 2022, there was a act that came into operation, which was gazetted on the 14th of April 2023, was Government Gazette number 48418. That basically deal with Section 1, people with disabilities, Section 8, minor amendments to the wording, Section 15A, minimum wage allowances, allowing parties 30 days to comment on the targets, and Section 60, allowing unions, members represented by them, certain rights, numerical targets in plans, in terms of Section 20, 21, 27, Sections 36, 37, 42, powers of labour inspectors, sectoral targets, and so forth. So, Section 52, determining of the certificate that are being issued by the Department of the CCMA in terms of the compliance to the employment equity legislation, as well as how everything is being repealed, and Schedule 4A of the Employment Equity Act. Right, so those are the aspects that the new legislation will basically deal with. So then in 2023, there were also a gazette that dealt with sectoral targets, and those specifically gave figures in terms of specific sectors. It deals with the 5-year sectoral targets per sector, as well as the national EEAP, which is the National Employment Active Population in the country for national employers, as well as the provincial EAP, Provincial Employment Active Population for provincial employers. Designated employers must set targets for 5 years and annual goals. So those are the things basically that have been dealt with in that Gazette of 2023. The sector breakdown, so there's about 18 sectors that are part of the Employment Equity Act, which makes it's broken down in those government gazettes. And each sector has specific 5-year targets. It does not one need to follow the same, but it's important to know which sector one belongs to. You cannot just go and choose a sector, and then if you are choosing the incorrect sector, it might be a problem if you are applying it incorrectly. So important to know what are the requirements per specific government gazette. Unfortunately, this session is not to go into detailed explanation of the specific government gazettes, but formal training will hopefully address that later. Further in 2023, there were amendments about what's the question about actual EEAP, what is the national figures that were provided, the provincial figures. All of these were only now in percentages, so it's not as it was in the past where actual numerical figures were provided. One now need to work on specific percentages, and you will basically go, if you have had the report previously, go and look at what you've previously reported, and when you do your employment equity plan, which is a requirement also for designated employers, then one will have to basically align it to these specific requirements. It's difficult to determine how all of it will take place. Tracking of it is important, but what is more important is that you need to show how you improve in your plan on a year-to-year basis. And I see there's a spelling error there on improvement. Important, what is missing is that is what you need to determine in your Employment Equity Act amendments and the Employment Equity Plan. Also, what then came out further in 2024 was new additional requirements that was published in the new Government Gazette. And once again, it's just related to the targets and the goals that have been amended and more specified and broken down in terms of what needs to be followed. What is important to deal with it is to know that there are targets, new specifications that were published in 2024 that have to be followed as of the 1st of February 2024. And all of these amendments, the ones that were published in 2022, 2023, 2024, all have to be read now in conjunction with one another in order to be able to determine and understand what is required in terms of the Employment Act requirements, amendments going forward. The 2024 amendments basically set out new numerical targets for top management, senior management, professionals and middle management, skilled technical staff, as well as disability-only staff. And what is very important in terms of disability staff is that new requirements are being set. There's a new definition of what's a designated employer. Only employers with more than 50 employees that are employed as per Schedule 4 of the amendments have to report. Therefore, it's important to note that the old requirements have been repealed that dealt with things such as employers that had a specific turnover. The question that was asked during the training sessions, for instance, was whether those employers need to be re-registered, and the answer is no, it's not necessary. You just need to make sure that you comply with the new requirements. So on 15th January 2025, what needs to happen, which is today, by the way, same day that this recording is being done, the companies need to submit their EEA reports by 12 o'clock tonight. All reports need to be submitted. What happens if the company does not comply? Then that will be the question going forward. You know, all sorts of, I think 1% turnover penalty or fine is still applicable to companies that do not comply. What is the 2024 provisions will still apply, though, for the reporting period up to now for what need to be submitted today, but whatever happened after today, during the month of January, all of that will have to be reported in end of next year, by the 15th of 2026, when the new reporting needs to be submitted. So therefore, it's very important what is required. Labour Info, in conjunction with Work Info, which is another company, provides a tracking tool, and you can ask us about that tracking tool in order to determine what are the correct percentages that you need to apply. So just ask us about it and we can provide that information. So various questions that were asked during the session. Question what happens with turnovers? Companies with turnovers don't have to report anymore. Only companies with 50 employees or more. Does one need to report for the 15th January on 23 and 24 amendments? No, only from the proclamation date, which is the 1st of January 2025. And that is basically the end of the discussion. So I hope you managed to enjoy the session. This recording will be available on YouTube for the people that have paid. Thank you.